Greetings. Happy Thursday. I am Nicole Everett, host of Conversations with Nicole. And today we are having a virtual meet and greet of a candidate, not just any candidate, Attorney Hubert Brown, who is running for the Florida House of Representatives, District 8. He is a Democratic candidate. And this is actually the first of a series of these meet and greets that I will be doing. So I think this is a great platform for folks to be able to meet the candidates in a safe space, hopefully in the comfort of your home or office or wherever you are. And so I am inviting you to tune in, chime in, give us your questions, your concerns, and meet Attorney Brown. Meet Attorney Brown. I am going to, at this time, read just a little bit of his bio, but I will have him come on as well. So, and let him know, have him tell you exactly what area District 8 is, what area that covers here in Florida. So, for those of you who are tuning in, if you will, in the comments, just put your city and state so we can acknowledge you. Put your city and state in the comments and tag somebody that you think should be here to hear this conversation or be a part of this conversation. Again, I am doing a virtual meet and greet with Attorney Hubert Brown from Brown and Brown Attorneys, but he is running for the District 8 Florida House of Representatives seat, which is currently held by Ramon Alexander. So, a little bit about Hubert. He grew up in North Florida in a family that stressed the importance of education. As a child, he attended segregated schools, which inspired his interest in law. As an attorney, he has represented individuals and families in the district during some of the toughest days of their lives to ensure they get justice. Hubert's work ethic was shaped by his tight knit family, growing up as one of 12 children. That's right, I said 12 in Washington County. They often went through tough times living in housing with no indoor plumbing for part of his childhood and relying on their farming, hunting, and fishing skills to supplement their food budget and make ends meet. He graduated from Florida A&M University, go Rattlers, and began a career in accounting as a CPA in Texas, following in the entrepreneurial footsteps of the older generations in his family. After completing a law degree at the University of Texas at Austin, he decided to come back to North Florida, raise his own children around family and the traditions that shaped him. So, some of the organizations that Attorney Brown has been involved in are the Smith Williams Service Center Foundation, the Swanee River Area Council of the Boy Scouts of America, and trustee at Flipper Chapel AME Church. And so he is a small business owner. He and his brother Thomas do own Brown and Brown, and he understands the challenges and opportunities of owning a small business. And so I have known Hubert for a few years now, and know that he definitely has a heart for people. So, without further ado, allow me to introduce and welcome Attorney Hubert Brown. Hey,
Good afternoon, Nicole. Good to see you.
good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. So, tell the people. I mean, I kind of told them a little bit. Tell them a little bit more about who Hubert Brown is, and why he is running for office.
Okay. Um, First, again, Hubert Brown from Washington County, Florida, a little small town called Vernon, which shaped my values as it has in quite a few people's lives, way they grew up. And I grew up as someone who learned the value of work early on. It was required in order to help the family out. And that is something that my background, I believe I have walked in the shoes of probably a large percentage of the people of District 8. I had a poor upbringing, but I didn't let that define me. And I believe one of my passions is to help students, young people, and the elderly, especially, because I want everyone to know that where you began is not where you end up. If you, keep the faith and work hard and do your best, you can reach those goals and set goals. And part of the reason I say I am passionate about young people and elderly is something that I've worked with since I moved back to Tallahassee. And I moved back to Tallahassee because of the love of family. I wanted my two boys to know their parents, and not just parents, I mean their grandparents, their uncles, their aunts, because that helped form me. And since I've been in Tallahassee, I've worked with students such as, excuse me, um, FAMU DRS. I was the mock trial team coach for them for quite a while, but also trying as a lawyer, trying to steer young people in the right direction. For probably 7 or more years, I served as a teen court judge. And what that does is when students or children made small mistakes, such as maybe shoplifting or getting in fights at school, whereas when I was growing up, getting in fights because of integration, uh, we didn't get a record, but
Mhm.
we had the students serve as their lawyers, the prosecutors, and I served as the judge to try to give the young people a sample of what they would look for if they didn't change their ways to try to keep them from having a felony on their record, because felonies follow you for the rest of your life. The other thing I did was working with the elderly. For quite a few years, I served as the president of the Smith Williams Service Center Foundation. And I got involved because my mother, who's 98, she wasn't at the time, and she was at home, like a lot of elderly, by herself, not having someone to speak with. So I got involved to make sure that, the funding was there to help the elderly on the south side of Tallahassee so
Mhm.
that they could have meals, could have people to talk to, but also to give them things to do, such as the crafts. Maybe my mom loves to sewing classes, knitting classes, computer classes, so they could, get on social media with their grandkids and see pictures. So I won't go on, but those are my two passions, uh,
Okay.
working with them.
Okay. Wonderful. So tell the folks who may not know, what area does District 8 cover?
District 8 covers all of Gaston County from the western end over in Chattahoochee all the way back through Quincy midway to the line. And then it covers the western and southern portion of Tallahassee. So if you're north of Tennessee Street, anything west of pretty much uh, Highway 27, which is North Monroe. Then if you're going south of Tennessee, it covers pretty much all of the south going down through Woodville and back west.
Okay. So a good part of Tallahassee or Leon County, um, all the way west to all of Gadsden County.
Yes, and even though Gaston is the biggest in land mass, Leon County still makes up the majority because of the density. So
Okay.
about 65% of the people in the district live in Leon and about 35 in Gaston.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good to know. Good to know. I'm gonna poll our viewers. How many folks in Leon do we have tonight? Maybe put a L, put a L in the comments if you're in the big G, Gaston County. Put a G in the comments for us. A L for Leon, a G for Gaston in the comments if you don't mind. And I see you, Pumpkin. Thank you for being here with us tonight. We appreciate it. So all right, Leon and Guest, and now there are a few um issues or hot topics that you are kind of passionate about. As it relates to your platform points, affordable housing being one of those. So, uh, tell us a little bit about your how you plan to address affordability and the affordable housing crisis that we're currently under.
Thank you for that question, Nicole. Uh,
Hmm.
First, I'd like to let you know why it's so important to me. I grew up in substandard housing. I
Hmm.
grew up with a house that had a wood heater, and you're on one side burning up, the other side freezing, trying to do homework. Also, I am the attorney for the Quincy CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency. And I
Okay.
see the need, how many people come before us asking for help to have their roofs fixed so it's not leaking, to have their floors so they're not holes in the floor, and also just the crisis of how much it costs to live. So that is why it's so important that we get the housing uh, situation so people can have not just affordable but quality housing. And one of the key ways I believe we need to fix this is that years ago there was a law passed called the Sadowski Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Yes.
And what that does is part when every time real estate is sold, the taxes on that supposed to go into this fund to help fund affordable housing, help build
Mm-hmm.
affordable housing. Well, every year, virtually every year, the legislature reaches in and pulls that money out and raise that housing trust fund.
Yep.
And we need to stop that. We need to have that money go where it was passed to go. And that
Mm-hmm.
will help go a long way into helping the affordable housing crisis. The other thing we can do is work with what is called NGOs, non government organizations,
Mm-hmm.
such as Habitat for Humanity. I found out from working with the Quincy CRE that cities often have land that they've gotten through various ways that they're not utilizing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why not donate that land to places like Habitat for Humanity, and then the state can provide some funding, some seed money to help build houses, affordable houses. So those are two of the key ways that we can help with the affordable housing crisis, and something when a child doesn't have a comfortable home, it just affects them. And I know it personally firsthand.
Okay, very good. So I want to just pause real quick for those of you who may be just joining us. I am here with Attorney Hubert Brown, who is running for Florida House of Representatives, District 8. He is a Democratic candidate, and we are just talking about, well, it's a meet and greet. So I want to invite you all to, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, put them in the comments and we will try to address them. But right now, we're kind of talking about some of the things that are some of the platform issues that are near and dear to uh, Mr. Brown. So, affordable housing is one, but also fully funding public schools, especially K through 12. So, tell us your ideas about that.
Okay. And again, part of the reason I'm passionate about that is because I'm from a family of educators. My grandfather, great grandfather, started Rolite High School years ago. It was the only school for African Americans back in the day in Chipley, Washington County area. Also, my mother was a teacher. And so I just believe that without having good teachers, to guide students, it's very hard to be successful. And I also have like nieces and nephews now who teach school. And so part of our issue is that the legislature needs to make sure that the funding of schools in our district is sufficient to attract quality teachers and also to retain them. I was talking to a niece who teaches at a local school and about how many teachers they've lost this year. And
Mm-hmm.
so part of it is because of the pay.
Mm-hmm.
When I was growing up, my aunt, who was a teacher, and a couple aunts, I mean, they were the people who were the ones who drove the Cadillacs. They were the ones who earned a living and people wanted to be. But now we're losing teachers. I had a client once, as you mentioned, Nicole, I work with Brown and Brown Attorneys at Law, who left the teaching profession to go, and it's nothing wrong with it, but to go and be a postal worker. Not because she wanted to be a postal worker, but she needed to earn more money for her family. So we need to make sure that we take care of our teachers. And my niece was telling me how long since they had a raise. So we need to fight. And this is one of the key points too, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
As an attorney, I fight every day for my clients. I know how to negotiate. I've been doing this for 28 years, how to negotiate with people who have diametrically opposed issues to me. And this legislature is dominated by Republicans. The House is Republican, the Senate is Republican, and the governor is Republican. You need someone who know how to go in there and negotiate and cut deals to, without selling their soul, but to cut deals to help the district. And when they can't get a deal, know how to fight them, know
Hmm.
how to do it. And I do it every day.
Okay, y'all heard that. Yeah, you know how to cut the deals. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. Those ideas about public schools. So healthcare, that's a big one. Medicaid and women's healthcare have really been um, issues that have been prominent in the news and of concern of a number of our citizens. So, what are your thoughts and ideas around improving healthcare, Medicaid, and specifically um, protecting women's healthcare?
Okay. Again, this was formed, this issue, because of my experience growing up without health care. And also from my experience working in the district, that so many of our citizens do not have health care. And if you don't have your health, you pretty much lost everything. And one of the key issues, it's going to take a while to get this done. So I'm not going to mislead the people and say, oh, I'm going to get in there and do it first thing. It's going to take a while because we have to convince the Republicans, and that is Medicaid expansion.
Hmm.
For some reason, Florida is one of the Republican-led states that have not accepted Medicaid expansion, which doesn't make sense because Florida sends more money to the federal government than we get back. And that's important because the federal government in the first year, if I'm not mistaken, is somewhere around 90% it pays for the Medicare expansion. Then it drops on down to after 3 years to 70%. So the federal government will pick up the majority of the cost. So it's not going to break the state budget. Now, what that does by expanding Medicare, over 700,000 families, not families, I'm sorry, individuals will gain health care. 700,000 people who didn't have it will gain
Mm.
health care. Not only that, like everything, once you spend more money, it would add more jobs because to take care of those people, you would have to have more nurses, more doctors. So that, and it would also reduce our costs because rather than people getting healthcare at expensive ER, they get it through their physician. The
Right.
second thing is I tell people, as you stated, I'm a member of Flipper Chapel AME Church. I'm a trustee. I've been a steward. I
Hmm.
love my church. I understand the teachings, and I had to do a lot of soul searching over the years. But I came to the point for two reasons. One, God gives us free will, and I believe women should have the free will to decide what to do with their body. That is between God, the woman, and their doctor.
Hmm.
I do not believe the state should be in our bedrooms. I do not think they should be dictating and pushing their view of their religion on us. I believe that everyone should be able to practice their religion, but the Lord does not ask us to bring someone to Him at the point of a gun or the state. He gives us free will and to tell people, and then He will draw them. So, first and foremost, I believe that women should make their own choice. I don't believe in big government dictating everything to our lives. So those are my positions on healthcare. I do have some other issues, but so we can get to more issues, I'll stop being a lawyer and talking so much.
That's fine. You're good. You're good. All right. And then lastly, one of the platform points was crime. Crime has oof, it's a multifaceted thing. That crime is, and so I work in the mental health field, and there are a number of folks that would that suggest that a number of issues come from mental health or mental illness and trauma and that sort of thing. And so I just kind of want to hear your thoughts, not necessarily on mental illness, and I probably am leading that question a little bit, but on eradicating crime. How do we get the crime numbers down?
First and foremost, Nicole, I don't pretend to know everything in crime. I've done criminal law defense, but with the support of people like Sheriff Walt McNeil, who is a supporter of my campaign, I plan to talk with him and get his ideas and help in any way I can once I'm elected. But I also believe that crime is tied to a great extent to economic development. And I believe they go hand in hand
Mhm.
because when someone doesn't have hope, then crime is the next thing. So if someone cannot find it, and when I say someone, when we have young people who growing up and don't see how they can find a way to earn a living wage and be able to take care of their families,
Mhm.
they look at others and they are not going to go hungry. And my dad used to say, and he was old school, that if you didn't work, you will steal.
Mm.
Nowadays, if you can't find a good living wage job, you're going to steal, you're going to do drugs and all the attendant crime that go with it. So
Mhm.
we have to give our people hope, our youth especially. And give you an example, Nicole. I have two sons. One, uh, smart as all, both of them are smart, but one from the beginning always wanted to go to college. Just graduated from NYU Law School, the number six law school in the country. And but I have my second son, smart as a whip, but he never really wanted to go to college. But
Mm.
you know what? People who don't go to college still need to be able to make a living wage and take care of their kids. So
Mhm.
one of the things I'm thinking of is we need to expand whereby when students who decide early on, and I'm not wanting the school to push them anyway, but decide they don't want to go to college, that they can come out of school maybe with some certificate, maybe certified in electrician, maybe certified plumber, maybe certified EMS, somebody who can then go out and get a good job and take care of their family. Because
Mhm.
think about it, Nicole, people who have a good job, you rarely see them on TV as someone who's committed a crime
Mhm.
because they have too much to lose. They're taking care of their family, they're enjoying life, they
Right.
have hope. It's when the kids don't have hope, then they're going to do something because they want to have some of the things that they see others have. So we
Mhm.
got to have, as I say, economic development goes hand in hand. And then, though, psychological mental illness does play a part
Mhm.
because if you have some mental issues, it's hard again to be able to take care of your family.
Indeed.
Hard.
So
So,
we have some questions and comments. Trisha wants to know, but what about families or victims of crime, victims that come from very supported families with decent economic status, specifically gun crimes?
well, I am a supporter and of we children should not be able to buy guns. Should be 21 years old to buy a gun. Just bottom line. I believe that. There's no reason why there shouldn't be universal background checks. I'm a big believer in that. The
Mhm.
other thing is, though, we need to talk to the gun manufacturers. One of the big issues right now is from reading the sheriff and the police department is where guns get on the street where people leave their guns in their unlocked cars, people steal their cars, and then they not steal the cars or steal the guns out of them. There is no reason why we couldn't have what is called biometric, in essence, fingerprints, whereby if someone steals your gun, they can't use it. So if a child come in and steals it out your home, out your car, or wherever, they would not be able to use it because the gun would not fire. We find
Mm.
it in safes that you can have safes where they use fingerprint pictures. You can even on your phone. I have an iPhone. I can unlock it with my finger. Why can't we have that guns can't be used without those safety measures? And
Mhm.
I am a law and order type guy. I'm a lawyer, uh, and violent crime especially. I believe they should be fully prosecuted. Someone who kills someone should be prosecuted. Someone who, um, carjacks someone, they should be prosecuted.
So
So I believe they,
Trisha's concern is really that they are not they're not buying these guns legally. How do we manage that? I've had these conversations as well. I'm kind of my wits end as it relates to it. But any thoughts around these guns that are being purchased illegally?
well, and that is my point. Often these guns are being purchased illegally from where somebody stole them. But if somebody stole them and now they can't use them because it won't work because it's not tied to the owner, then
Hmm.
they can't use them. and we need to do that. Uh, the other thing is to, as long as we have the Second Amendment, which protects the right to own a gun,
Right.
we can't just confiscate them without changing the Constitution. But
Mm,
what we can do is try to vote in more sensible gun owners. And I am a gun owner. I'll straightforward with you. But more responsible ones, and let us pass sensible gun laws, such as the red flag laws. If someone
mm,
have a mental illness, which you brought up,
right.
then they shouldn't have a gun. If
Okay.
they've been determined to be mentally ill, they shouldn't have a gun.
All right. So Vanessa, she joined us a little late, but I think this will be a good time for those because we've had quite a few people join us now. But what's your reason why? What inspires and motivates you to do the work that you do?
I believe it was growing up hard. My oldest son always tell my wife and I, my wife, he says, growed up poor. He said, I growed up just poor. Couldn't even be poor, just poor. And so I always wanted to help others. I'm one that want to reach back and help others. And what I found out, one of the reasons I'm running for state representative, I can only do so much as a volunteer. I also volunteer for the Swanee River area Boy Scouts because that helped give me some direction.
Mhm.
But I can only do so much. But in the legislature, it has this year was 100, I believe it was $101 billion budget. We can do so much more, helping direct those funds into our community. And one of my key points is also Florida A&M University, FAMU. FAMU is not getting its fair share. We need to get more money to Florida A&M because it helps so many of our people. And so we need to do that. And just, I believe we can help more people if I'm in the legislature.
Indeed. So Trisha just lost her nephew due to gun violence, and he was in his early 20s. They buried him just past Saturday. And so she, is thinking that again, there just needs to be more, done as it relates to it. I had not heard of that idea that you mentioned in terms of the gun not being able to fire because of the fingerprints, but I think that is definitely noteworthy and something that should be considered. Roz Wynn said that America as a country is obsessed with violence, violence against children, the elderly, women, etc. Gun violence is a symptom of this deeper problem. Common sense gun laws should not be opposed by any law-abiding citizen. Cars are more regulated than guns, and that is shameful. I have a concealed carry permit and still think we need more criteria to be a gun owner. Again, yeah, guns is a really hot topic. Deidre Jones, thanks for being here. She said, I agree with the biometrics gun policy, but how can you get the others to agree with you? The NRA people will never agree. How can you convince them to cross the line and pass the laws?
Well, I agree that NRA will not agree, but NRA is not the majority view, and you need to convince people to get out of it. Uh,
Mhm.
for a long time, my father-in-law used to try to get me to join, and convinced him it's not supporting our policies. NRA is just trying to sell guns. Really is a program for the gun manufacturers to sell more. So we need to show the people, and one, it's an organization where it's under attack right now. The state of New York, Letitia James, Attorney General, is after them because call them a corrupt organization because they're just taking money to have their leaders enrich themselves is pretty much what they're accused of. So
Mhm.
that's part of it. And I agree that I need to do more research. As I said at the beginning, that is why I plan to sit down more with people in law enforcement, like Sheriff McNeil, talk to them more, talk to people like Sheriff Young over in Gaston County to
Mhm.
find out more. And part of it, though, I had a 45-minute conversation with Sheriff Young about 4 weeks ago. And
Mhm.
part of it is funding. If
Mhm.
we can't get the funding to institute the programs and have the officers, then it's hard to police as he wants to. And so that was one of the things he talked about. And as a former CPA, that's the other thing. Al Lawson encouraged me. He's a mentor years ago to run for office. And one of the things, because it's about the budget. And as a former CPA that worked with Price Waterhouse Coopers in Dallas, a former Texas CPA, I understand that budget. And I understand how to make sure we get what we need in that budget. And so, being a former CPA, being an attorney, I think I'm well qualified, and not can't guarantee anything as far as being able to specific within the first 60 days or a year, because it's going to take some convincing. Because we are a minority as a Democrat, but as far as being able to convince people, I have to go in and convince a jury all the time to come to my side and see my client's point of view and to adopt my client's point of view. That's what I do in the legislature, is talk with the other side and show them why our point of view is the better point of view. It's going to take a while. I will not mislead you. It's going to take a while.
All right. All right. Rosalind said, I think that has to do with how our society stereotypes. People think everyone in jail, prison is one, guilty, two, bad people. By thinking that way, they dehumanize the incarcerated and turn a blind eye to the cruelty that takes place, the rapes, the beatings, the murders, and the horrible living conditions. As long as politicians campaign on being tough on crime and demonize the incarcerated, I don't see how we change that. It's a good point. I and again, since I work in the mental health realm, my thought is, especially now since I work so closely, and it's like something has happened to the folks that are committing these crimes. And while I'm not trying to give them a pass, but I think we need to look at it a little deeper. People that are experiencing generational traumas and generational, you know, mental health conditions that aren't being treated, right? And so it spills over into all other aspects of our society. So just
Nicole, if I could add just
yeah.
one thing, example,
Hmm.
I'm from a big family, and I have a nephew that when he was about 16 was walking around doing some stuff he shouldn't have been doing,
Hmm.
and one was carrying a gun. And I asked him, I'm like, why? You can get in so much trouble and ruin your life. And he told me, he said, well, I probably won't live past 2021 anyway.
Hmm.
And what we call that then is a no limit soldier.
Hmm.
Has no limits. He didn't see himself having a future. And I think too many of our kids feel that way when they don't see that they have a future. And that's why I work with kids, because we got to show them that there is a better way. And also, we have a drug problem. Drug problem is a big issue with crime. When you have someone on drugs, again, they're not in their right mind, and it's an expensive habit. If they're not working or not earning a living, it's they're gonna find money to get the drugs, whether that's
Hmm.
stealing, whether that's jacking people up to rob
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
So that's a big issue, is dealing with drugs, and
Yeah.
I see that firsthand. And we got
Yeah. If you have a drug problem, you have a mental a mental wellness problem,
yeah.
right? Because you're thinking that the drugs are the solution. So, mm-mm. Yeah, Trisha said he's not a soldier; he's a lost soul. I would be curious, and this is just because of
What I
me.
mean by no limit soldier means there's nothing to stop him from
Right, right,
doing.
right, right.
I'm not suggesting he's a soldier by any
Yeah,
means.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
just has nothing to stop him.
Right. So I would be curious as to why that's his mindset. Is it that, he's thinking that as a black male in America that he's not going to make it because of being profiled or targeted or what have you, or, you know, um, the prevalence of black on black crime, black people killing black people, or, I don't know if you went any further in that conversation with him, but I would be curious as to know like why he has that mindset that he's probably not going to live too long.
Part of it, Nicole, was when he was younger, gangs were a big problem, and
Mm-hmm.
being especially in the poor areas where he lived. And so he felt in his situation
Mm-hmm.
that he was stuck in an environment that was dangerous. and that people were not getting out, being able to earn a good living and take care of themselves. So many were into crime, and so he just felt that I'm in this situation. I don't know a way out. This is where I'm stuck, and he just didn't think he was gonna make it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you lose hope, then it's like,
Exactly. Without hope.
well, what's left, all right? Lisa said something about her son being schizophrenic, and I just want to, bring that to the forefront because, again, working in this mental health space, I have absolutely found that folks diagnosed as with schizophrenia are forgotten. They are left to the streets, like literally. Baker acted in there for 72 hours and then given a bus pass to go to the shelter, and the shelter can't serve them. So we really need to look into some resources to, assist these folks that have, that are on that end of the mental wellness spectrum. So I am yeah, this breaks my heart, Lisa. I definitely support you and am fighting for this as well because it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Okay, Mr. Enigma. He says, "How will Mr. Brown plan to gain the public trust in Black Democrats after the controversy surrounding Andrew Gillum and Ramon Alexander?"
Two things. And I go back again to my upbringing in my family as well as in the church. My dad always told me, let your word be your bond,
Mm,
meaning you stand on your word. When you look someone in the eye and tell them what you're going to do, then you do it. And you do everything you can to uphold it. And so that's why I'm honest with you all tonight. You heard me say that certain things are not going to be able to be done within, the first 6 months or a year. It's going to take some time to convince these people to change their policies because they are in control. They are in control right now. They have overwhelming control. So it's going to take some time. And the other thing, though, is in my actions uh, to make sure that uh, I uphold the values that I was brought and taught as a child. And I always go back to my mom and dad. One of the other things he always told us is to uh, have your name. He said, I've worked hard, your family has worked hard to have a good name and continue to make sure that everything you do reflects on not just you, but all your family who carries that name. And so everything I try to do is to uphold that a good name. And I think that, especially with my brothers and sisters, that we have upheld that part. You can talk. I don't think you'll have find someone that gonna say a negative thing about my brothers and sisters. They work hard. They do what they and honor their word. And so that's the first thing is to honor your word,
mhm,
remember your name. It always remind me of how in the Bible it said a good woman is more valuable than rubies.
mhm,
And I believe that's the same thing with the good name. Is with a good name, it's more valuable because I know growing up, my dad, if they went just on the banks, on your balance sheet, he couldn't
mm,
qualify for loans. He had a putwooding business he had. But because he had a good name, the whole Brown family down in Vernon, the bank knew he was going to pay him back. He was going to find a way. It
mm,
didn't matter. He was going to find a way. It reminded me of growing up in Vernon. Most of our family members worked either in Fort Walton Beach or in Panama City because it just wasn't jobs there.
right.
There was a place called Gatlin Lumber Company.
Mhm.
If you went to Gatlin Lumber Company in Fort Walton Beach and told them you were a Brown from Vernon, if they had an opening, they were going to hire you
Wow.
because they knew they had a good worker, somebody wasn't going to steal from them, and that was going to give them a hard day's work.
Okay.
So that's how we rebuild trust: is that person of your word, and remember that you reflect on your other family members. So do a good job.
Okay, very good. All right, we are a bit over our time, but I want to give, if there are any final questions, really quick, let us know in the comments. If you have any final questions for Attorney Brown, let us know. All right, so we get some comments from some folks. Deidre in Maine. All right, when is your next event, Mr. Brown?
Well, we have a uh, trying to think, and we don't have an actual date plan yet, but we're trying to do my campaign a back to school drive,
Okay.
and we're planning it early in the year where we're going to have supplies
Hmm.
for Leon, two locations, Leon, and two locations in Gaston. And I will put it on my website at www.hubertbrown.com so
Okay.
that people will know. And then, of course, wherever I'm invited to speak, I will show up.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. Vanessa had a final question. We're going to make this the last one. She said, if you received $1 million grant to use for District 8 any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
As I said, my priorities are affordable housing and
Hmm.
helping young people and adults. So first and foremost, I would put some money into helping Habitat for Humanity. My brother Claude, who runs Brown's Installation, he is on the board of directors for the Habitat in Wakulla County, and I see how a little money goes a long way. I will put a big portion of it there, and then I'll put some money into our youth, Smith Williams Service Center. I will
Okay.
put some money there so that we can help the elderly expand our programs, as well as I really would like to have a Boy Scout troop at that center. And
Okay.
I would help fund that because part of the problem is just getting money for their uniforms and different material.
All
So,
right. Okay. Very good. And so, how can folks connect with you in your campaign? And if you have any needs as it relates to it, let us know.
okay, again, with you can learn about my platform and other issues at www.hubertbrown.com, as well as on Twitter and Facebook. And the other thing, my needs are I need people to help me walk on, especially Saturdays and other times, to walk neighborhoods and hand out literature and knock on doors. And one of the biggest issues you can do is share my information on your social media network and let your family and friends know, hey, this guy is an honest guy, and I believe he can get up there and make a difference in that legislature, and share it on your social media. That would be an awesome help.
All right. Very good. Well, there you have it. You see Mr. Brown's information scrolling at the bottom of the page. So, those are the ways that you can support him. And when is election day?
August 23rd,
Okay.
and early voting even before then. I encourage everybody to vote early. Don't vote often, that's illegal, but
That's only in Chicago, right?
but thank you so much for your vote. Thank you, Nicole, for having me today. It's been a pleasure. Thank
My
you.
pleasure having you. Yes, yes. So hopefully this has been helpful. Please tag somebody, like, comment, let folks know that this took place. We will have more of these virtual meet and greets coming up in the next few weeks leading up to election day. Hopefully this gave you an opportunity to interact with Mr. Brown, find out a little bit more about his platform, what's important to him and who he is. So, this is not an endorsement. We are just giving an opportunity for the community to meet and greet him virtually. So, thank you, viewers. Thank you, Mr. Brown. And all the best to you. And yeah, good night.
Good night.
All
And good
right.
night to everyone in virtual land. Have a great evening.